Generally, there's 3 buckets you're going to want to put all your customers into during the BFCM window. Number 1 are new folks. Everything's new to them. Your hero products you've had since day 1, your new launches, it's all new. Your second group are going to be recently acquired customers. Anyone who's already bought in November, anyone who bought in October, in most of September, as an example. That's bucket 2. Bucket 3 are any existing customers who haven't necessarily bought recently. So if you look at like an RFM analysis, these are people who their recency score isn't that great. All 3 of those folks should be spoken to differently. And I would even say, I would potentially even personalize the offers.
Welcome back to another episode of Chew on CRO. I'm joined by Ned today, and we have a special episode talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I know we've gone over the tips and tricks over in the past, but we're going to talk about some of the things that we're doing differently this year compared to the last few ones. So I'll kick things off.
Yep.
Over the last few years, we've tested so many different things, right? We've tested a month-long sale. We've tested the sale just the weekend of. We've tested site-wide discount, free gifts, et cetera, et cetera. And we've kind of gone back and analyzed all of the data. And so what we have seen worked best for us is kind of this hybrid model of site-wide discount plus product launches plus free gifts, et cetera, right? So for us, we're acquiring a ton of customers throughout the year. This is our time to get them to come back and focus on customer retention, because for us, a lot of our customers are shopping for gifts and things like that. They're not shopping for supplements. So I need to make sure that I'm doubling down on revenue that's coming from returning customers versus kind of just keeping things running on acquisition, right? So from our experience, what we're seeing is you have to give your customers a reason to actually come back and shop from you versus the other deals that are going around. It's not, you're not just competing with your within your industry, you're competing with gifting, you're competing with everything else. So what we found is this year we're doing a few more product launches. So the free gifts are nice, but if you are launching a new product, right? Having that be the sole reason that they come back and shop from you, yeah, the discount is nice, but it gives them that extra like, oh, I can only get it now, right? And so that's probably one of the biggest things that we're doing. I'm curious your take on, product launches during, the sales period versus like discounts.
Sure.
And I'm curious, how do you guys see brands and how they should be carrying this out?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I'm going to back into it from this direction, which is it depends on which consumer is seeing it. And so generally there's 3 buckets you're going to want to put all your customers into during the BFCM window. Number 1 are new folks. First, like always, first time to site, right? Just like any given weekday, et cetera, you're going to have a disproportionate amount are brand new. Everything's new to them. Your hero products you've had since day 1, your new launches, it's all new, right? Your second group are going to be recently acquired customers, right? Because remember, if you look at all LTV structures, is disproportionately weighted to like the first 60 to 90 days. So in that case, it would be anyone who's already bought in November, anyone who bought in October, in most of September, as an example. That's bucket 2. Bucket 3 are any existing customers who haven't necessarily bought recently. So if you look at like an RFM analysis, these are people who their recency score isn't that great. Maybe they bought 3 times in 2023. We haven't seen them yet in 2024. Or they bought once or twice in Q1 and they haven't come back since. All 3 of those folks should be spoken to differently. And I would even say, if you have the ability to, with your brand, is to, and kind of just speaking to the audience here, is I would potentially even personalize the offers. So as an example, new product releases is a great way to re-engage that third bucket. People who clearly liked you at one time, bought from you. And it's not that they don't like you anymore, but like, you know how it works. I mean, you just get carried. If they're not subscribed, they just forget about it. They break out of the habit, even though maybe it was working, et cetera. Classic. That's a great way to re-engage that group. As an example, you might be willing to give the new product away if they just replenish their old order. So it's like site-wide discount plus a freebie of our new product. Now, to the first group, it's all new. So the new product release doesn't really have that same impact, right? So again, it's not that it doesn't work or does work. It's to whom are we talking to here? And then the second group, they're probably more of a scarcity angle, right? Because they just bought from you. That new product you're releasing wasn't available then. now that it's available, again, you can just play the fact that it's available and it's new, but you could also play that it's like, hey, this is going to sell out on that audience, and play a little bit more of a scarcity tactic. So you can also do this across the spectrum of discounting, right? As an example, people who are brand new are not going to need as much of a discount. You have to remember that what the wind you have in your sails, so to speak, going into BFCM window is the whole world is primed to buy then, right? We've trained them over a year. It is a shopping holiday. Everybody comes to buy. And a lot of people will come to buy with or without your best discount because they don't know what your best discount is historically. So don't obsess too much about the first user customer discount then. However, you can go more aggressive on the discounting to win that third bucket back, right? People who've been a little quiet or frankly just not been non-existent with the brand for more than 6 months, 12 months, et cetera, right? Also, by the way, it's a really excellent way as an ancillary benefit to clean your email list out. Because if you're throwing the whole kitchen sink at that third bucket and you've got a chunk of people who, even with free product giveaways, most important shopping time of the year, biggest discount of the year, don't even open or engage at all, it's like maybe time to say goodbye to those folks, right? So that's how I would answer to that, is all of those things you mentioned can be true at the same time, depending on who you're speaking to. And so that's the big exercise here, is segmenting those three buckets. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
The other thing that we've done a good job at is the progress bar on the cart.
Yep.
Right. So right now we're using it for free shipping and free gifts. Right. Now, question for you is, how should brands understand the correct thresholds? Now versus a time like Black Friday?
Yeah, sure. So generally speaking, AOVs don't change, at least in my experience, that much during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Now, in theory, UPTs, unit per transactions, do, because you do generally get a little bit of a bump in the quantity of items people will buy during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So for those being like, oh, wait a minute, we saw more units. True. However, every incremental unit they add is usually at a lower price point. So the positive basically pressure that you have there is higher UPT. The negative pressure is more discounting. So the per unit price goes down. So they tend to generally balance themselves out a little bit, right? So we don't normally see these like enormous AOV lifts, conversion rate lifts for sure. That all being said, and this is going all the way back to a podcast we had done a long time ago, but you've got to understand the basic descriptive statistics on how the distribution curves look on your purchase behavior. And so what I mean by that, just to reiterate the classic story, we had a client who came to us. They were panicking. This wasn't during BFCM window, but they had set their free shipping threshold at $100, and their AOV was like 94, something. I think it was like 94. Sounds intuitive, right? And conversion rate went down, and AOV went down, and they were like, "How is that possible? Like, this is where our AOV is, et cetera." So we ran a basic descriptive analysis to understand. Well, not like you're studying your mean. What's your mode in the median? And then what we found out in that case, the mode where the concentration of orders were, actually existed in the $70 range, because the reason their mean was so high, their AOV, average order value, was because they had this like 10 to, 15% of customers who were like evangelical, who had like $300 AOVs, right? So they pushed the whole distribution curve to the right, right? So then when we looked at it, we actually, because those people were going to unlock free shipping no matter what, they were eclipsing the marks, whether you made it 100, 120, 80, didn't matter. So we were like, don't address the mean, address the mode. So we brought it down to, and again, I want to say, we did an episode on this, but it was like 75, 80 AOV, boom, AOV goes up and conversion rate goes up and contributed margin goes up, right? So there's an example where don't go into Black Friday, Cyber Monday blind. Run the proper data analytics. We can help you with this if you need us to, but run the proper analytics and understand on a distribution curve, trailing 90, trailing 180, trailing 360, where is your mode, where is your mean, et cetera, and then base it around that, right? So really important. Which, by the way, kind of segues into another point, which is we're talking in August right now. A lot of people think this is premature for BFCM. One thing we did recently is we went back and look at net our biggest wins, and it disproportionately focused on the tests that went live in October and November. So what we found is that the wins you get now are going to likely have potentially upwards of an order of magnitude impact come Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and holiday window because of the massive influx of traffic that you're going to have. In other words, now is like the critical time to be running tests, right? Because you don't want to be running experiments the week of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but leading up to it, if you can unlock any big wins, you're going to get a much bigger actual incremental lift on that win once the traffic starts to come in mid-November through probably shipping cutoff in December.
Do the tests in the months leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is the focus a little different? Like, are you focusing on different parts of the website knowing that you're going to have this increase in traffic coming? Or is it kind of, again, you're analyzing the data and seeing where we need to just improve?
It's generally the latter. It's generally just figure out where the weakest points are. But again, it's like we get, where something we might have gotten a 6 or 7% statistically significant ARPU lift. We'll get the same 6 or 7% on the test that goes live in, say, October. But then when we look at basically the actual revenue impacts from that test through the remainder of the year, it'll be like 3, 4, 5x, 10x what it normally would be. Again, just given how much more traffic that they have. So again, that I say that, but then on the other side of the coin, I'll say, if brands are confused on what their discount strategy should be, that's a lot of experimentation that we do now. As an example, I am advising more and more brands now to not launch your big discount in Black Friday, Cyber Monday window, which again is counterintuitive to what we've always thought. The reason why is we've done this now for the better part of the last year is we've taken a bunch of brands that have evergreen first user 10% off your first purchase, or maybe they have a gamified model where every time you had 2 items to cart or 3 items to cart, you can unlock 20%, something like that. And so what we've been doing is going in and out of sale windows without actually changing the percentages. So it'll be the same 20% off for 3 items or whatever, but then it's the Labor Day sale or it's the 4th of July sale. And then as soon as that sale's over, it's the same 20% off. And what we find is like, it's the sale itself. Literally, it's the naming convention of it. The fact that there is a sale, once again, coming back to the basic statistics, because the majority of users are new. So if you're historically, a lot of people will be like, well, we never do more than 10%, but for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we have to do 15% off. It's like, why? Why? If anything, if you really feel you have to do that, pertain that only to the existing customer base, right? Most of them can't remember anyways what their first customer discount was. They can't remember if it was 10, 15, 20, whatever. They're primed to buy. And so a lot of times you just emailing them just to get back on their radar as a reminder for them to be like, oh, that's right. I've been meaning to replenish my Obvi as an example. Now is a good time to do it. And then they don't come there and be like, wait a minute, that was the same discount I paid. I'm not going to buy now. We don't generally see that behavior. And no consumer will want to admit that. They'll all say, no, give your best discount then, obviously, because they're partial to that. But I am advising more and more brands these days to not get so obsessive about jacking up the percentages off. And you'll be, by the way, observe like taking a lot more margin in when you don't discount too much.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of preached that evergreen method, especially for acquisition, right? So our landing pages, and to your point, it's like anytime there's like what we call the mattress sales, right? Memorial Day, July 4th, whatever. We're literally just taking our current sale, rebranding it. And I don't think it's going to change during Black Friday, because the simple point is that when you're driving acquisition, you're driving new traffic, this is the first sale and offer that they're going to see. It's the Black Friday offer. Right? Now, if, in my opinion, in this climate, my main goal is to conserve contribution margin and profitability. I'm not trying to chase top line revenue. I'm not trying to beat Black Friday last year. I'm trying to beat Black Friday last year in terms of profitability. So if I can hold on to the margin, I think even this year we're going back a little bit less on the discount. I think last year we did 40% off, and the reason for that was because of our Walmart push. We had to go and kind of compete. But now throughout this year, we've launched more products. There's more of a offering that's outside of retail. We don't have to push that hard. So I think people get too caught up in like, oh, it's Black Friday, I need to offer the best thing possible. Customers are going to come back if they need you. New customers are going to buy, and you don't need to deepen the discounts there because they didn't know what the original offer was to begin with.
You're dead on. And you're right. A lot of brands panic over top line, and it's like investors are pushing them, et cetera. And it's like, you're right. Don't get yourself into a hole. You're right. Because then on top of that, remember your biggest audience who returns products, not returns to the website, but returns products is going to be in that window too. So you don't want to take the double hit there where you acquire a bunch of customers at virtually no profit or even maybe negative first purchase unit economic. And then 20% of them end up returning the product anyway. It's like not good time, right? That's not great. So yeah, and again, it's like there's all sorts of tactics you can use here. So as an example, it's like lower the discount amount on users who are coming in during Black Friday, Cyber Monday window, but maybe just extend the window out. So if I'm a new customer to you and I come in on whatever, November 20th, and I get this 20% off, instead of a 30% off, then make up for it by coming back to me a week later, 2 weeks later, and been like, hey, we've decided to extend it. Would you like to, you say it more eloquently this, but would you like to come back and keep shopping? Why? Statistics will show the highest propensity for someone to repeat purchase is going to be in that first 30, 60-day window. So it's like, if anything, lower the percentage, but extend the window out, especially for repeat purchasers, Back to your point on evergreen, right? Something we're way more proponents of these days.
Makes sense.
Yep.
For brands this may be their first Black Friday, or maybe you want to do something different, how should brands be thinking about how to craft the right offer?
Yeah, my first recommendation with this is don't get too cute with it. Like, don't get too fancy. The more complex, the worse it's going to perform. And we've seen this, all products are 10% off, but if you buy 2 items, then you get 15% off, but excluding these items over here. And then if you have a third, we'll throw in a free gift, but only if it's like, because if it's not, if a toddler can't explain it to you, don't do it. Like, seriously, just back off it a little bit. People don't give you enough time to learn it. They just want simple across the board. All orders get a free gift and 10% off, or we're doing 20% off site wide. Focus more on scarcity messaging. As an example, what I'd much rather see them do is chill a little bit on the discount strategy, go more basic and elementary, and get more advanced on targeted scarcity elements, which is in the middle of Black Friday, multiple times, certain of your best sellers start to flag that they're running out of stock.
Right.
That's a very believable story, and it's true in almost all instances where it's like you should be selling dramatically more in that window. Yeah. Let people know that. Let scarcity pull weight, not just more discounting, right? So that would be point one. Is it's if you feel you're getting too complex and you can't have someone. If anyone in the room is like, wait, how does it work again? You're already off to a bad start. Right. Make sure it's much simpler than that. And then the second is don't start too early. I've just seen this time and again. Brands are like, oh, well, if we start our sale on November 1st, we'll just get that much more revenue. And it's like, you won't. In a lot of instances, what we'll see is, yeah, you might get a little bit of bump sooner, but at the expense of a much lower bump later. And net, we have never, in our instance, seen a brand outperform in that case. All of our best performers, because we take all of our, we have hundreds of clients, we take all of our clients and kind of compare them up and try to create normal averages the best we can as to who had the biggest lift, who did the best in Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And the top 10 every single year, without fail of the last 3 years, have started their sale right around the beginning of Black Friday, Cyber Monday week. Maybe the Friday before, maybe usually that Monday, sometimes Tuesday, but it's generally in that like 3 to 4 day window, right? Whereas Thanksgiving's on that Thursday, it's that Monday before, that Sunday, Saturday, Friday before, and then that usually extends. And then we also saw a common theme with the brands who net in Q4 generated the best revenue increases, did a great job of extending the sale. We had one client last year that kept their conversion rate within 10%, like they were averaging like 2.3, and then they went up to like a 3.8 during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and they stayed within 10% of the 3.8 all the way until December 19th, which is crazy. Normally, brands will see that spike and it comes right back down. Yeah. And the best explanation I can give for it is constant messaging on the site saying like Black Friday, last call, Black Friday extended. And it was. They had a set amount of products they're trying to get through, and they kept that messaging. And so think about it. If you're a user who comes to the site on December 7th and the first thing you read, because again, the chances are you're a new user, last call for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're like, awesome. I'm just in time. I probably can't get this tomorrow, proverbially speaking. And then third would be, I'm getting the best discount they offer of the year. What great incentive to users. So again, focus on simplicity on the discount, focus on scarcity to boost production, don't start too early, and then focus on the continuation Don't just cut it and go back to normal business as is. Remember, BFCM window tees up holiday gift giving.
Right.
So it's all the way until shipping cutoff, right? Which is usually December 19th, December 20th, something like that.
Right. A couple things there, right? So for me, my whole thing is, again, like I said, for new customers, evergreen. I'm never ever gonna go and make that. I already know what my break even point is, and I need to maintain that, and that's how we're gonna keep things going. The returning customers, that is obviously you have to treat them completely different, right?
Yep.
Now, when you said don't start on the first, start maybe the week of, just because historically that does better. If I'm maintaining an evergreen campaign for my new customers, do you think it makes sense to change the messaging just for new customers, even though like the deal's not going to change, and then kind of treat the returning customers differently? Like, okay, bang, that week of sales starts, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a disadvantage there?
It's a great question, because a lot of times, and I agree with the hypothesis, where people will be like, well, if you discount like evergreen style like that in November, won't most people come and see that and not buy, thinking you're holding out till your better offer comes, which makes a ton of sense. I haven't been able to prove that one yet. Right. And so again, I thought that was true for a while, but honestly, in hindsight and looking at I haven't like seen that one as much, right? So what happens is with repeat customers, you will see that for sure. You definitely will see. And we talked about this on our BFCM episode that we did last year, which is repeat customers will balk and be like, nah, I think you're going to do a better offer, come closer. So be cautious about that. But new customers generally stay in a very similar psychology. I mean, a lot of times brands assume their sales are going to crash the week before Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Interesting.
So in that case, I think you're okay just doing your usual evergreen offer. It's still a great offer, whatever it is, 10% off, 20% off, whatever. And then you just start to hammer home on scarcity and the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all the banners and everything come the actual week of. But again, another example on treating those two customer bases completely differently, new versus returning. Because literally my advice would be the 180-degree opposite, based on if that question is contingent on returning customers versus new.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. One piece of feedback to take away from this episode, this Black Friday special. What's that one piece of advice to give to the listeners and viewers to implement?
Let me just hit the quick bullet point on it, right? Which is testing now will give you an order of magnitude benefit. Most important window to test. Don't start too early. Don't get too cute with the actual discount amount. And then find ways to implement scarcity and extend the sale as long as you can.
Love that. Chew on that. If you want more from us, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and check out the website chewonthis.io.